My name is Megan Drake, and until last month, I thought our next-door neighbor, Mr. Halston, was just a lonely, harmless older man. He brought us cookies on Christmas. He always waved from his porch. He even helped my husband, Mark, fix our fence once. A sweet old man. That's all I saw. Rex saw something very different, and he tried to warn me long before I ever understood. It started on an ordinary Saturday morning. I was home alone with my 4-year-old daughter, Riley, while Mark worked overtime. Rex lay stretched across the living room rug, snoring softly, paws twitching in some dream about chasing squirrels. Around 10:15 a.m., someone knocked on the door. 3 firm knocks. Rex's eyes flew open instantly. He shot to his feet so fast his nails scraped the hardwood. Then he growled, deep, low, a vibration that rattled through the floor. My heart thumped. "Buddy, it's just the door." But Rex didn't move from his guard stance. I peeked through the window. It was Halston, umbrella in one hand, paper bag in the other. He smiled when he saw me. "Megan, I made extra muffins. Thought your little girl might like some." His voice was gentle, cheerful, but Rex barked like he'd seen a monster. I opened the door a crack. "That's very kind. Thank you." Halston chuckled. "Well, can I come in and say hi to—" Rex lunged. Slam. He threw his entire weight against the door, nearly knocking it shut. Halston stumbled back. "Megan!" he exclaimed, laughing awkwardly. "My goodness, your dog is excited." But Rex wasn't excited. He was unhinged. He was snarling, teeth bared, body shaking with rage. I don't know why he's acting like this," I said, grabbing Rex's collar. "He's usually good with people." Halston gave a shaky smile. "Oh, dogs don't always like me, I suppose." The whole time he talked, Rex didn't stop staring at him, not blinking, not relaxing, hunting. I forced a laugh, embarrassed. "I'm sorry, maybe another time. Thank you for the muffins." I shut the door. Rex didn't move. He stood there for a full minute, listening, waiting. Only when Halston's footsteps faded did he finally ease down. But he didn't leave the door. He stayed there, guarding it. An hour later, something felt wrong. I stepped outside to toss trash into the bin. Rex followed, glued to my side. I approached the trash can, stopped. My stomach flipped. Inside the bin, on top of the trash, was the same paper bag Halston brought. Untouched, still warm. He never meant to give us muffins. He used the bag as an excuse to get inside. I swallowed hard. "Okay, that's weird." Rex suddenly growled again. Low, warning. He stared at Halston's house. I turned. Halston was standing in his window, watching me. Watching Rex, not smiling, not waving, just watching. A slow chill crawled up my spine. I picked Rex up by his harness and backed toward the house. By the time I reached the door, Halston had disappeared from the window. I locked the door, every lock. Rex sat in front of it, alert, tense. Something wasn't right. Something about Halston. And Rex had known it from the moment he stepped onto our porch. I checked the baby monitor. Riley was napping peacefully. At least she was safe. At least a sound cut through the quiet, a soft click, from the side of the house. Rex jerked his head up, ears sharp. He sprinted toward the hallway window. I followed, heart pounding, and when I peeked through the blinds, my blood ran cold. Halston was standing beside our gas meter, holding a wrench, turning it, slowly, deliberately, gas hissing into the air, right next to our house, right under my daughter's bedroom window. I staggered backward, covering my mouth. Rex barked, roaring so violently the window shook. Halston's head snapped toward the noise. He froze. His eyes locked with mine through the glass. And the smile he gave me wasn't kind. It wasn't sweet. It wasn't harmless. It was something else entirely. Predatory, cold, and absolutely unhinged. I grabbed my phone with shaking hands. "Rex," I whispered, "you were right. My God, you were right." Because Rex hadn't been overreacting. He had been trying to save us. From a neighbor who wasn't a neighbor at all, but a threat, a real one. And he was standing 5 feet from my daughter's bedroom, with a wrench in his hand. And a plan I didn't understand yet. But Rex did. Long before I ever did. Halston's eyes locked with mine through the window. Cold, calculating, completely devoid of the warm neighbor smile he always wore. The wrench in his hand remained pressed to the gas valve, and he tightened it again. Another hiss filled the air. Rex barked so explosively that I stumbled backward. Okay, think, Megan, think, I whispered, heart pounding. I snatched my phone and dialed 911 with shaking hands. 911, what's your emergency? There's gas leaking outside my house, and my neighbor. He's the one turning the valve. Ma'am, leave the house immediately, the dispatcher said. Do not start any appliances. Do not flip lights. Do not touch anything electrical. Is the leak close to your home? Yes, I cried. Right under my daughter's window. Rex pressed his head to my thigh, whining urgently. Officers and the fire department are en route, the dispatcher continued. Evacuate now. I hung up. But the moment I reached for Riley's bedroom door, Rex whipped around and barked sharply. Not toward Riley, toward the front door. I froze. Someone was jiggling the handle, slow, testing it. Rex, I whispered. My God, someone's trying to come inside. The handle twisted harder. Rex launched forward, slamming his entire body into the door with a deep, violent snarl. I grabbed his harness as the person outside stopped, dead silent. Then footsteps, walking away, but not far. Rex stood, rigid, nose pressed to the gap beneath the door. He wasn't barking anymore. He was tracking, smelling, listening. I lifted Riley from her crib, clutching her to my chest. The smell hit me then. A faint chemical tang, gas. It was drifting inside. Panic surged. Rex, we have to go, now! I turned toward the back door and stopped cold. The back door was cracked open. Just an inch. I hadn't opened it. Rex growled, deep and guttural. Someone was in the backyard, or had been moments ago. Carrying Riley with one arm, I backed slowly toward the garage entrance, our safest exit. Rex blocked every doorway before I reached it, checking left, checking right, scanning the hall. He wasn't just running with us. He was clearing the path, guarding, protecting. I opened the garage door. Fresh air rushed in, but Rex didn't move. He froze, staring at something in the shadows of the garage. I squinted and saw it, a shoe print, wet, large, pressed into the concrete floor. It led toward the side door of the garage, and the doorframe was splintered. Someone had forced it open. Someone had already come inside. My mouth went dry. Rex, I breathed. He was in here. Rex snarled, low, steady, terrifying. He moved forward, sniffing the floor. He followed the prints, straight to the corner, straight to a shape. I nearly screamed, but it wasn't a person. It was a duffel bag, black, heavy, with a strip of duct tape across it. A name written in bold marker, Riley. Everything inside me dropped. No. It was a kidnapping bag, blanket, rope, gag, baby wipes, a toddler-sized jacket. I stumbled backward, holding Riley tighter. Rex barked so violently that my ears rang. Sirens wailed down the street. Police, fire trucks. The cavalry was finally coming. But Rex wasn't relieved. He was frantic, terrified. Because he sensed something I didn't, something the bag didn't tell me, something worse. A shadow moved outside the garage window. Rex spun, barking with a fury I'd never seen. And when I looked, my blood turned to ice. Halston, standing at the window, watching us. His smile stretched slowly across his face. Nothing kind, nothing sane. A chilling, silent grin. He lifted one finger, pressed it to his lips. Shh. Then pointed straight at Riley. Rex exploded. He lunged so hard toward the window that I nearly dropped my daughter. Megan, open the door! A deputy shouted outside. I flung the garage door open, screaming, He's here! He's outside! He's right there! Deputies stormed in. Firefighters rushed toward the gas meter. But Halston, gone, like he vanished into the storm. I clutched Riley to my chest as Rex barked at the empty yard. One deputy knelt beside me. Ma'am, that duffel bag didn't look random? A chill tore through my spine. No, I whispered. He was planning to take my daughter. The deputy nodded grimly. And your dog knew it. Rex pressed against my leg, trembling, still staring into the shadows, still guarding, still warning, because Halston wasn't done. He was still close, still watching. And Rex was the only thing standing between him and my little girl. The moment Halston disappeared into the storm, deputies swarmed our yard, flashlights sweeping the bushes, the fence line, the side of the garage. But Rex didn't move from the window. He stared into the darkness like the night itself was staring back. One deputy approached cautiously. "Ma'am," he said, "I need you and your daughter to stay inside with an officer. We're checking Halston's house now." I held Riley tight against my chest. "I'm coming," I said, voice shaking. "I need to see what's in his house. I need—" The deputy shook his head. "No, absolutely not." Rex barked sharply, stepping between the deputy and me, as if agreeing. "No one decides for us but him." The sheriff walked over. "Megan, your dog saved you tonight. We trust his instincts, but you can't come inside the neighbor's property. Let us handle this." I opened my mouth to argue, but Rex looked up at me with soft, pleading eyes. He wasn't begging, he was protecting. Again, I exhaled shakily. "Okay," I whispered, "but tell me everything." The sheriff nodded. Rex stayed glued to my leg as we walked toward the crime scene tape bordering Halston's property. Deputies surrounded the house with flashlights, while firefighters turned off the gas line. The sheriff led me to the edge of the lawn. "We checked county records," he said quietly. "Your neighbor, he's not who he says he is." My heart hammered. "What does that mean?" The sheriff took a breath. "He's not Walter Halston. That name belongs to a man who died 15 years ago in another state." I felt the ground tilt. "Hey, he stole the identity?" "Yes, probably to avoid background checks." "Background checks for what?" I breathed. The sheriff exchanged a grim look with his deputy. "Because his real name is Mitchell Hale." "Should I know that name?" The deputy opened a file. "You should. He was questioned in connection with 3 missing children's cases across 2 states. My stomach twisted viciously. No, it can't." "He was never charged," the sheriff continued, "but he was always the last person to see the children before they vanished." I covered my mouth with shaking hands. Rex pressed against my leg, firm, steady, grounding, as tears burned behind my eyes. Rex had known. He had sensed it the whole time. The sheriff walked me toward the porch as deputies forced the front door open. The house was dimly lit, cold, still, like a place waiting for someone who would never come back. "Stay behind me," the sheriff murmured. Rex growled before we even stepped inside. A long hallway stretched out before us. Photo frames on the wall, all turned face down. Kitchen, spotless. Living room, empty. Too empty. Like someone erased all signs of life. Then, a deputy shouted from the back room, "Sheriff, you need to see this." We hurried toward the hallway. Rex stiffened. He pressed his nose low, following a smell only he could detect. He turned left, toward a closed door, a basement door. He growled deep, ears flat, body shaking. "Avery, step back," the sheriff said. But Rex didn't step back. He scratched the door once, twice, harder, almost frantic. The sheriff forced the door open. A cold draft swept up the stairs. I shivered uncontrollably. The basement was pitch black. A deputy flicked on the lights. What I saw made my knees buckle. The walls were covered in newspaper clippings. Not random, missing children reports, dozens, photos, names, ages. Some articles circled in red marker, some slashed across with black ink. Some dated as recently as 2 years ago. I felt sick. "Oh my God," I whispered. "He was planning something." The sheriff's voice was grim. "He wasn't planning. He was rehearsing." Rex barked sharply, pulling me toward the far corner. Not the wall of clippings, not the storage shelves. A single wooden door, small, metal latch. Scrape marks on the ground. Rex shoved his nose under the crack and barked, aggressive, urgent, terrified. "What's in there?" I whispered. The sheriff stepped forward. "Open it." A deputy unlocked the latch. The door creaked open, and a wave of cold air hit us. Inside was a tiny room, just big enough for a child to sit, with a mattress, a small lamp, toys, and a name carved into the wood with shaking, uneven letters. Riley. I almost dropped. "No!" My voice broke. He made a room for my daughter. Rex nudged my hand, softly, protectively. He knew, he had always known. The sheriff touched my shoulder. Megan, he was preparing to take her. Everything in this room was set up within the last week. I covered my mouth and sobbed. Rex shoved himself between me and the doorframe, blocking my view, as if trying to shield me from the horror inside. But the sheriff wasn't done. "There's more," he said. He pointed to a shelf. On it was a notebook. Inside, pages of scribbles. Dates, times, patterns, notes about our family. When Riley played outside, when Mark left for work, when I took out the trash, when I walked with the stroller, when I forgot to lock the back door, when Riley napped. A chill deeper than anything I'd ever felt ran down my spine. I wasn't looking at random surveillance. I was looking at stalking, detailed, planned, obsessive. "He watched us," I whispered, "for months." Rex growled again. I looked down. He wasn't growling at the room anymore. He was growling at the floorboards, scratching the wood. Like he sensed something underneath, something alive, something moving. The sheriff turned to the deputy. "Check beneath." They removed the wooden panel. Rex lunged forward, barking. So violently the deputy dropped the flashlight, because underneath the floor was another tunnel, a fresh tunnel, leading toward our property, toward our backyard, toward Riley's bedroom window. I staggered backward, clutching my chest. "No, no, please." The sheriff looked at me with grave seriousness. "Megan, this isn't a break-in gone wrong." His voice shook. "This man has been planning to take your daughter for months, maybe longer. And your dog, he's the reason she's still here." Rex pressed close to me, silent, strong, my protector. But then, a deputy burst in from upstairs. "Sheriff, motion sensor just triggered in the woods behind the house. We think Halston doubled back." The sheriff shouted, "Move! Now!" Rex bolted ahead of all of us, fast, faster than I'd ever seen him run, because he knew this wasn't over, not even close. Someone was coming, someone who thought my daughter belonged to him, someone Rex was ready to face, with everything he had. The forest behind our homes was a maze of pines, twisted roots, and ankle-deep mud. The storm had turned everything slick and dangerous, but Rex didn't slow down. He sprinted, tearing through branches, nose locked on a scent he'd been tracking all night. Halston. Deputies followed with flashlights bouncing wildly, radios crackling. The sheriff shouted behind us, "Stay close! He's dangerous!" But I couldn't stay behind. Riley's tiny face burned in my mind, and I knew if Halston doubled back once, he would do it again. I ran as fast as my shaking legs allowed. Lightning cracked overhead. Rex stopped. He froze, rigid as stone, ears pinned, chest puffed, a deep growl vibrating through the ground. The sheriff caught up, panting. "What's he—" A twig snapped, to our right. Rex spun so violently that mud sprayed from his paws. Flashlights swung, and there, half hidden behind a dead tree, stood Halston, soaked, breathing hard, eyes wild. The smile was gone. What replaced it was obsession. "Megan," he whispered, voice trembling with mania, "you shouldn't have come out here." My blood turned to ice. "Why?" I choked. He stepped forward one slow, deliberate step. "Because she's supposed to be mine," Rex roared. He lunged, but I grabbed his harness at the last second. Halston held up a hand. "Let him go," he said softly. "I won't hurt him. I don't want him. I only want the child." I couldn't breathe. "Why Riley?" I cried. "Why my daughter? You don't even know us." His expression twitched. A tear, real or imagined, slid down his cheek. "You don't understand," he whispered. "I used to have a daughter." The woods went silent. "She was taken from me," he continued. "Her mother left, took her away, and I never found them. I looked. I searched for years." His hands shook. "When I saw Riley, she looked just like her, like my little girl." My stomach plummeted. The sheriff shouted, "Halston, Mitchell, put your hands where we can see them." Halston didn't even turn. His eyes stayed on me. "You're a good mother, Megan," he said, "but she belongs with me." That was when everything snapped. Halston reached into his jacket. a glint of metal, a knife. The deputies raised their guns. The sheriff yelled, "Drop it! Drop the weapon!" Halston lunged, but he didn't lunge at them. He lunged at me, or at the baby in my arms. I didn't have time to scream. I didn't have time to think. Rex did. He launched himself into Halston with a force that didn't seem possible for a dog his size. The collision knocked Halston off his feet, knife skidding across the dirt. Rex snarling, teeth clamped onto Halston's arm. Halston screamed, a raw animal sound, as Rex dragged him away from me. Deputies rushed in. 3 of them tackled Halston, ripping him out of Rex's jaws. "Get his arms! Cuff him! He's resisting! Taser ready!" A flash of electric crackle lit up the woods. Halston collapsed, still breathing, still glaring at me, even while pinned to the ground. "You don't deserve her," he rasped. "She's mine!" Rex lunged again, but the sheriff caught him. Halston kept ranting until the deputies shoved him into the back of a squad car. And then, silence. The storm eased, the woods exhaled. I sank to my knees in the mud. Rex pressed his head to my chest, whimpering softly. I wrapped my arms around him and sobbed into his fur. "You saved us," I whispered. "You saved Riley. You saved me." The sheriff stepped closer. "I've seen thousands of cases," he said. "I've never seen a dog with instincts like this. He knew every move that man was going to make." Rex licked my cheek gently, tail thumping weakly. The sheriff added quietly, "Your dog didn't just protect your home. He protected your child from a predator who'd been planning this for months." I hugged Rex tighter. He trembled, finally letting go of the tension he'd held all night. Halston, a.k.a. Mitchell Hale, was charged with attempted kidnapping, identity fraud, breaking and entering, gas line tampering, and multiple counts of stalking from previous cases. The tiny room in his basement, evidence, every notebook, evidence, the tunnel leading to our yard, evidence, and the only reason it was all discovered was Rex. Riley began sleeping with a small stuffed version of a German shepherd every night. But the real Rex? He slept beside her crib every single night. Mark and I installed cameras, new locks, a full security system. But the real protection was already lying at the foot of my daughter's bed. One evening, as the sun dipped behind the trees, I knelt beside Rex. "You're more than a dog," I whispered. "You're her guardian angel." Rex looked up at me with soft eyes. His tail brushed the floor. And I knew, as long as he was here, no threat would ever get close again. Rex, the dog who sensed evil long before any of us could see it, and saved my little girl from a nightmare that almost became real.